call of cases down at the courthouse in misdemeanor court. And Anthony was one of the great professionals that was coming in there and keeping order with things. So
Okay.
shout out to Anthony. They've got three beautiful children,
Yes.
plus one beautiful grand who I think is pretty new, Caden.
Yeah, he's 3.
Three. Oh, he's
Yep.
three already.
Going on 4 this summer.
Okay. All right. So that's beautiful. Outside of work, Mary enjoys worshiping God.
Yes.
Amen.
Hmm.
She enjoys traveling, cooking, and eating. I'm here for that. She loves good movies. She loves a good book. And she loves laughing till it hurts.
Yes.
So it's no wonder that I've known Mary for so many years, right? Because we've got, some things in common here. So yeah, so I just wanted to give a little background and introduction of who you are. But before I ask you to talk about it a little bit more, I just want to point out that there's this running theme that I have not intended. Wes, you know where I'm going. You know what I'm about to say.
I do.
I call it the homegrown talent from
Okay.
Milwaukee.
Okay.
And that's what's been happening. Whenever I invite a guest to come on the show, and we all have kind of had this one thing in common, that we grew up in the Milwaukee area.
Hmm.
Some of us, like you and like Wes, went away to college.
Yep.
Now, I grew up in Milwaukee area, but I got my undergraduate degree from Marquette University.
Okay.
And I got my law degree from Marquette Law.
Okay.
So I've been here, right? You
Yeah.
guys left though and came back.
Yes.
So I love that.
Hmm.
Yep. So that's our homegrown talent theme that seems to keep happening. The people everybody that I have on, they come back and they say good things about Milwaukee. So I'm doing what attorneys do, and I'm talking more than I should.
No,
I have
go
a
ahead.
guest on, and we want to hear from her. And I'm going to have Wes jump in with questions too, as he seems fit. But Mary, tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you go to high school? Where did you go to college? What degrees did you earn? Tell us about you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. And thank you again.
Thank you.
I am honored to be here. Been listening to the station since I was a little girl. The first thing that comes to my mind is I'm coming up. But my pastor, I go to church at New Testament Church, and he always says it's in the house. When I hear you talk about community, homegrown, it's in the house. Milwaukee has a lot of intelligent, successful Black professionals that have been gathering information from their experiences. And I think it's a great opportunity that you have a platform to share that information to others so that our communities can grow, can be secure, can be have strong foundations. So I applaud you all for just having this here. But a little bit about me. My family is from the Virgin Islands, and I'm very proud of that.
I actually didn't know that about you.
Yep. I really believe part of the reason my husband married me is for my curry chicken, to be honest with you.
I know that's right.
But my family's from the Virgin Islands. I'm originally from the East Coast, but I moved here as a little girl and grew up in the greater Milwaukee area. I used to go to church on East Center Street, went to high school, middle school, and grade school, all in the Brown Deer area. I graduated from Brown Deer High School, and then I went to school in Mankato, Minnesota. After school, I actually had job offers in other places throughout the country, but I decided to come back home. I came back home and worked in corporate America. My last position was working for a Fortune 500 company where I manage in the financial operations division, which gave me a lot of experience on negotiations, details, being thorough, etc. But I was not just very satisfied in what I was doing every day, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know how you work hard and then you come home and you don't feel fulfilled. And even though I liked the titles and I liked the networking and where it was going, and I liked my contributions, to be honest with you, I tried to bring people in to help expand. But I just wasn't satisfied. And if I'm being very honest with you, one day my husband and I prayed about it and was like, Lord, what direction will you have me take? And real estate came to each of us separately. And I remember we came together and we were like, oh my goodness, how we both think of the same thing at the same time. And
That's
so
confirmation,
it was,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I looked into real estate and I was like, I can't do this because I'm not a salesperson. I can't, that's just not who, that's the perception persona that I knew about real estate. I'm like, there's no way I can do this. And then I just learned that if you treat people the way you want to be treated, you will be okay. You know what I mean? And so that's the motto I've been going by since day one. And I love what I do. Every year I analyze, Mary, can you see yourself doing this some more? And the answer has been yes. So I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Some days are harder than others, but at the end of the day, I've had experiences that I will carry with me forever.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's good. I think that's really informative. I didn't realize that that's how you came to that decision.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, how did you decide to transition to real estate? But yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That's
Thank
good.
you.
So how long have you worked in real estate now?
This is my 18th year. I got licensed in 2006. And it's easy to remember that because I do have 3 children. My oldest 2 are 10 years apart, but I was pregnant with my middle child. And I remember taking my classes, etc. But so, yeah, this is my 18th year in real estate.
Okay, I'm stuck on the 10 years apart.
Oh, yeah. There's 10 years between my oldest Dwayne and my middle Grace.
Yeah. Wes knows a little bit about children because he's got 2 girls, but I think they're a little closer in age than that.
I've got 15 and 11. So,
Okay.
And she'll be 12 in August. So
2 girls?
2 girls.
I'll keep you in my prayers.
Please
Yeah.
do. Please do. Please do. Yeah.
Yeah, Jermaine, you're shaking your head. Huh?
Yeah, because I got one and she's 26, so I know all about it.
Okay, okay. So my sister has 3. One of them is 36, the oldest. My nephew is 30, and then my youngest niece is 21.
Okay.
So imagine the age gap between the 36 and the 21-year-olds. I used to tease her and say every 10 years or so, my sister gears up and has a baby. Every 10 years or so. So now I can say that about you too, Mary.
Yeah, but you know what? My oldest Dwayne was so much of a help with the younger 2. He was actually more overprotective than my husband and I.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's played itself out in my family too. So
Yeah.
I know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So we mentioned that you worked for realty executives. So I was going to ask, are you with the company or do you work for yourself? How does that work with working with realty executives?
Sure. So any real estate agent, most of us are independent contractors, right? And we're licensed by the state, but you should have a managing broker. I am working with Realty Executives Integrity because quite honestly, it's an awesome company. I remembered when I met with the owner, Dale, he said to me that he saw how hard I worked in the industry because I had already been in the industry for about 10 years when I met him. And he said he could see how hard I worked, but he wanted to teach me how to work smarter. And we can always learn from other people that are doing things with us better than us. I believe we can always learn from others. And that really caught my attention because I was working hard. I'm working long days, up most of the night. And I wanted to learn how to do this, smarter so that I could spend more time with my family because they're my why as why I work like I do.
Right.
And so after doing some research on the company, they operate on a very high level of ethics. I love that. They give back a lot to the community. I love that as well. And I love the support. And so it offers a high quality for my clients and the support that I need. So I've been there for a while.
Right. And honestly, I hadn't really thought about the fact that most of the time realtors are independent contractors to the companies they work with until you and I were talking a little bit in the lobby before we came on the air today.
Yeah.
I mentioned to you that there's a young lady who's an accountant that I'm planning to reach out to invite to the show, Money Talks, right? Because we talk about all things related to money. And you had some very interesting observations about that notion. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit of what we talked about before, just the importance of making making sure that you take care of taxes. I know like this isn't your
That's okay.
expertise that I'm,
That's
but,
okay.
but you had some very insightful comments that I think that people could benefit from hearing.
Yeah, what I was sharing is that when I got into real estate, they just literally put a mirror to your nose to make sure you're breathing, and then they say, yeah, you can practice real estate. Like no one sits there and interview you thoroughly or schools you on aspects of how to do certain things, right? So at the beginning, I skinned my knees. You know what I mean? I was working really hard, trying to find business, trying to bring it in and pay my bills. And then we went to do our taxes, and I was like, wait a minute, I owe somebody? How do I owe somebody money when I've been paying out all year? Are you tripping? So I paid, and next year I'm like, okay, let's put some money aside for taxes. Oh wait, that's not enough. And so every year I just kept learning more and more until it evolved to, okay, when I get a check, I need to have a separate account for my taxes. I need to have a separate account for my business savings, a separate account for my business operations, etc. And this is how I need to pay my taxes, whether I'm gonna do it monthly, quarterly, or whatever. I don't want to pay fees, and I don't want my license to be at risk. And a lot of individuals don't understand, when you're self-employed, your license is at risk if you don't keep up with those responsibilities like paying your taxes.
Right. And so you talked about them putting a mirror in front to see to make sure you can breathe. And Wes chuckled a little bit. I had to look because he was laughing a little bit. But it is also true that this is a licensed profession. So there are some steps that you have to take to get that professional licensure, and then you don't want to risk it by not paying taxes. So could you talk about that a little bit? Like, what does it take to become licensed, and how does that correlate with the comments you just made about taxes?
Yeah. So the state holds your license. So if you are behind in anything, or if you're challenged ethically, or if you have something fraudulent in your past, it could play a big role on whether or not you can maintain or get your license. But to get your license, you're going to take some classes. Nowadays, you can do it online as well as in person. Then you have to pass some state exams, and once you do that, you'll have your license. On a biannual basis, you continue by taking continuing education. The state wants to make sure that we're up to date of things that are happening in the industry with real estate law. We don't practice law, but we still have to be aware of what's happening and changes that happen with the contracts. And so every other year we take continuing education, and you have to pass those tests as well to continue practicing.
Wow. So there are actually tests that you have to sit for and pass the tests.
Mm-hmm.
So that's different from lawyering, because we have continuing legal education requirements as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you go to the seminars, you sit there, you pay attention, you take notes or whatever for your own education, but there's no
Really?
test. Yeah.
Yeah. I just took 18 courses last week.
Wow.
They said I'm a little nerd because I did it too early, but
Like to get it out the way, huh?
Yeah, actually I got it out the way in case my daughter-in-law and son needs me for my grandson, because his schedule's changing this fall.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's good. That's good. So what geographical areas do you represent in terms of your work?
Sure, that's a really good question. So I mainly work in the 4-county area: Milwaukee County, Ozaukee County, Washington County, and Waukesha County. I get calls from people all the time that wants to see things in Madison, Racine, Beloit, etc. I usually will refer that out to a colleague who specializes in those areas. I want to be familiar in the areas that I work. One thing that's a benefit about the counties that I mainly serve is that there's generally some type of assistance if my buyers need that in purchasing their homes. But those are the main counties that I work.
Okay. So how can a prospective client find you? If there's someone now and they're saying, wow, she sounds like a great realtor. You know what? Let's talk about what a realtor is, what a realtor does, and then we'll talk about how they can find you.
Okay.
Because I shouldn't just assume that people know what that means.
Okay.
So will you tell us, what do you do? Like, what's your job as a realtor?
Man, It's actually nothing like you see on HGTV.
Okay, because I watch those shows, those reality shows, and I start thinking, whoa, forget law. I want to be a real estate.
I want to do what they do. I want someone to drive me around. I want to sit around eating lunch and just negotiate on the phone with somebody about a property and then hang up and get a check for $50,000.
Yeah,
That's what I would love to do.
Because they're always these big multi-million dollar properties and everything, and they live the life.
Yeah,
on
that's
on TV.
On TV. That's not reality. In my reality, I have to have a set schedule. One of the things that I have to do is honor myself, and I got that word honor yesterday. I actually went to a volunteer training from someone who's been doing this for a very over 40 years, I believe he said yesterday. And that's the word he used that I wrote down. It's like honor. You got to honor yourself. But I do have a set schedule every day. One of those things I do in the morning is I try to build relationships. And what I mean by that is individuals that I've had relationships in the past. I've helped them buy a home, buy or sell. I try to connect with them to see what's going on in their lives. And I take a little bit of time to do that every day. Every single day, I am doing research for homes that may be coming on the market or maybe on the market right away for my buyers that are out there. It's a very competitive market. Something can hit the market today, this morning, and honestly, by the time I leave here, they already have an offer. And so I have to be on point on top of that for my customers. So I'm doing market analysis for sellers to see what's going on in the area. I'm working with title companies. I'm working with lenders. Because we have to make sure that our buyers are pre-approved and that they have what is needed. I'm in communication with community organizations to see if there are assistance available. I'm talking to inspectors because and we can talk about this later if you like, but when we are in the process of purchasing a home, the buyer's going to do a home inspection. And sometimes I'm dealing with appraisals. So there's a lot that goes in a day of a real estate agent.
I was going to say, that's a lot. You're juggling a lot and dealing with a lot of different people. Before we go to break, tell people how they can connect with you if they're looking for the best realtor.
Yeah, you're going to find somebody with me who cares about your best interest. You can reach me. My personal cell is 414-899-9307, but you can always find me on Facebook, Instagram. It's Team Mary Edwards.
Thanks, Mary. So before we go to break, I will invite callers to call us, 414-444-5250. We will be back with you with more Money Talks after the break. Thank you, audience, for listening. We are back with Money Talks with Attorney Coral. As I said earlier, I am fortunate to have a co-host in the studio with me this morning, Mr. Wes McKenzie, who
Glad to
is
be
the
here.
Senior Vice President at Columbia Savings and Loan. And as the audience, I'm sure knows by now, because I say it every week, but I'm going to keep saying it, that Columbia Savings and Loan sponsors this show.
We do.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, you do. I also have in the studio this morning Ms. Mary Edwards, who is a realtor extraordinaire, telling us about her background and experience, and she's just a real person. So we're just enjoying having Mary. So before I let my co-host take it away and ask Mary some questions, I want to talk to you a little bit about a reminder that Columbia Savings and Loan Association has a home buyers seminar in partnership with Port Washington State Bank. It will take place at the corporate headquarters for Columbia Savings and Loan, which is 2020 West Fond du Lac Avenue. The next seminar date will be Thursday, June 27th. There are 2 sessions that day. If you can make the noon session, that's great, or the session at 4 p.m. I believe that they're about a 1 hour long informational meeting. You'll learn things like how owning your home builds generational wealth. And boy, weren't we talking about that last week with the estate planning matter. We'll circle back and talk more about that another day. You will learn how banks look at credit. You will learn how to build better credit. You'll learn about the types of mortgage loans and their benefits, and what available grants and down payment assistance may be out there for you, and things to avoid before your home closing. Like, don't go out and buy a car, right, Wes?
It's definitely not a good idea.
Even I know that, right?
Don't co-sign either.
Oh, definitely don't do that.
Definitely don't do that. So yeah,
don't do that even if you're not buying a
I
house.
know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Even
the
if you're
wisdom
not
that
buying
just
a
came out of that. But Wes, go ahead. Let's hear the questions you like to talk to Mary
Okay.
about this
Now,
morning.
Mary, you mentioned that you started in 2006,
Yes.
and I know that was right before what do we call it, the Great Recession or the housing market
Yeah.
burst. Can you speak to what things were like in 06, what you've seen change in the industry, different challenges that have come up?
Sure. In '06, I got licensed. I started actually physically practicing in '07. And when I got into the market, it was kind of funny because my colleagues was, in my opinion, very successful. I mean, they could leave and come back into the office and they would have a handful of offers, accepted offers. They would put something in the market and it would go immediately. And so it was interesting because my very first transaction for a listing was someone who was going through bankruptcy. They were underwater with their mortgage and they had to do a short sale.
Oh,
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know what a short sale was. And I was asking all my colleagues and they were like, we don't do that. And I had to literally go to the federal courthouse and sit there and read and call the bank and ask a bunch of questions because no one could help me.
right.
And it was a very interesting experience because when I started, people were coming off of their high. And I was like, what is happening? Because I was really having to do those day-to-day calls, etc., just to get my foot in the door. Right. And the market was different, but I liked it because you could take a buyer out, for example, to look at a home. They could go home, think about it, and then you could write an offer.
Right.
And you might have one other person that you may be competing against.
Right.
And this market is not the fact. If we're going to go out and look at a home, you need to make a decision right away. If we're writing an offer that day, you might have, 6, 12, even more people that you're competing against. So that's the big difference right now.
Okay. Now, from a customer standpoint, if I can go like you said, we can go take a ride, we look at some homes, I can go home, think about it. That's a different experience.
Yeah.
Whereas today, if we go out shopping and I look at a home and I like it, I should be prepared to make an offer right then, right?
Yes.
Because of the shortage of inventory?
Yes, there's a shortage of inventory. I will say, though, we're in the 4th consecutive month where even though there's a shortage of inventory, sales have been up. as of
Okay.
right now. And I believe it's right under 18%
Okay.
for January, February, March, and April. So that's a really good thing.
Right.
I know a lot of sellers like to wait till the spring or the summer to put their home in the market.
Mhm.
And one of the things I try to tell my sellers is like, you never can time the market. You have to put your home in the market when it's good for you and your family,
Right.
because things are always happening in the market. But if you do wait for that spring or summer, now you're waiting with other people. And so your price may not be exactly where you want it to be, where if you list it when it's good for you,
Right.
you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It's better for you price wise, and especially in a market like this, because if you want people to be attracted to your home, then you want to put it on the market at a fair market value.
Mhm.
The market is going to tell you what your home is worth regardless.
Okay. Can you say that last part again?
The market is going to tell you what your home is worth. I could think your home is worth $1 million. You could think your home is worth $2 million. But if they all write an offer in your home, they're going to tell you what your home is worth. And I can guarantee you that if these 4 people wrote a home in your offer, most of them are going to be very close to each other
In terms of the value of the offer.
in terms of what they write for your
Okay.
offer.
Yeah. So they will then tell me what my home is worth.
Yeah, that's the market value. What is the
Mhm.
public willing to pay for your home? That's what your house is valued.
Right. Now, does that, okay, because we're talking about sellers and buyers. So what does that mean to a seller that thinks that, okay, I want to sell my home, I've done these improvements to it, I've put $100,000 in it, but it's still in the neighborhood that it's in?
Mm-hmm.
I've put all this money into the home, I think it's worth more. Now,
Sure.
what does that mean for me as a seller?
Well, that's a really good question, because it depends on that buyer. Is that a cash buyer who is saying, I'm going to take my cash and give you what I feel it's worth? Or is it a buyer who's coming to, Columbia to say, hey, I need a loan to buy this home? Columbia is going to say, I'll help you, but I need to do an appraisal to make
Correct.
sure you're not overpaying for this home, right?
Correct.
That appraisal is going to be based on recent sales in the area. One of the challenges we have in some of our communities is that when you have neighbors who've not kept up their home,
Mhm.
it does affect the value of the community,
Right.
which is very depressing sometimes. And it's frustrating because you have some homeowners who've been extremely responsible, and then you have others or absentee landlords who are
Mhm.
not taking care of their property,
Right.
which will affect the value, right? However, appraisers, they look at what recent sales have been in the area.
Mhm.
Depending on where that home is determines how far they go out, whether it's 1 mile, etc. Also, they look at a parameter of time frame, like what has sold in the last 3 to 6 months. They do a debit or credit to these upgrades that you've done.
Okay.
But the essential thing is it has to support it, right?
Okay.
So I have been in a home I can think of right away where the lady did everything. I mean, this home was gorgeous,
Mhm.
but she overextended, in my opinion, for her improvements
Okay.
for where her area supported. So the lesson, and that was early in my career, the lesson I learned from that walking in that house is whatever I'm gonna do in my home personally, I want to enjoy it, because when I put it on the market, I'm just going to get the value of what it is.
Right.
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 So you can over improve, but most of time appraisers are considering those over improvements. But again, they can't go past, and you can push the market. You
Okay.
may be the high house in that market, but
Right.
it's only
Right.
going to be to such an extent, because again, Columbia doesn't want to take that kind of risk, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Now, given the lost my train of thought. You said I lost my train of thought. You got a question, Coral?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just going to say, so if I'm understanding what you two were just discussing, if I'm in my home and if I know my home is in an area where maybe the neighbors aren't keeping up, if I want to make an investment to turn it into a castle on the inside, probably it should be for my own enjoyment, because I may not get the return on that investment at the time to sell.
Yes and no. So there's a couple things. I think my home is my sanctuary personally,
Mhm.
right? It's hard out here. I work hard. I'm tired. When I get home, I just want peace. If there's something that gives me peace, I want that in my house, whatever it is. I just want to relax. I want to chill. I think everybody wants the same thing when they get home. They just want to relax, right? So I think you should make the improvements that you can afford, that makes sense for you, that you want to have in your home. How if I was coming to your home and you said, "Hey Mary, I'm looking to sell my home. I need you to do a market analysis for me." I'm going to look for homes that have sold within a particular radius of your home that has a similar number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and other bonus rooms that you have in your home. But I'm going to ask you essential questions like, when did you get your roof done last? What about your windows? How old is your furnace? How old is your water heater? Have you updated your kitchen? What about your bathrooms, etc.? I want to know these things because it helps me paint a picture on that analysis of what your home is probably worth. Okay. So the example I gave is someone who had, marble floors, and her environment did not support that overextension. So my thing is, hey, if you like that, do that. But if you do that and you're only in your home for 2 years and you expect a huge profit, and you're not in an area that supports that, then that may not happen. Time makes a difference, how long you're in that home, and if you're doing some type of improvement. So I do believe you should improve your home, right? I always tell my buyers too, look at your inspection as when you purchase a home, look at your inspection as a honey-do list or maintenance, right? Pull it out every once in a while and say, you know what? I remember them saying we need to A, B, C, and D. So let's go do that. Let's replace that sump pump. Let's caulk around here. Let's do some grading around the exterior of the home. That way you can keep the upkeep of your home good. You keep your neighborhood good. And if something happens, because life changes all the time. And if something changes in your life and you have to sell your home, you're not now going in your pocket doing all of this stuff. My husband and I, every year he may not like me saying this because he hates the title, but we got this from a session we had attended on something. We have these staff meetings, right? I know if he wants the title changed, he got to change it, right? So we have these staff meetings, and in our staff meeting, one of the things we do is once a year we set goals for the following year, and they're in every area of our life, our spiritual life, relationships with each other, with our children, our family, our friends, etc., and the maintenance of our home. So what we found in our years is that it helps us have a productive marriage because we're not arguing about, hey, I wanted to do this year and I want to do that. We're literally talking about it and figuring out a way how to pay for it. One of the things it's done is help us keep our house up, right? And help us budget for that. And sometimes we do pull out that inspection and you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot. Yeah, we do need to do this, so it helps to keep your home maintained.
I think that's so wise. I'm sitting here smiling because I'm thinking this sounds like a business plan.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
A business plan for the operations concerning your home.
Yeah.
You mentioned relationships, your marriage, your relationships with your children, and that sort of thing. Extended family, friends.
Yeah.
That's
it's
Mary,
important.
I like that idea.
Well, thank you. It's important because I find that we work hard, and I'm sure everyone in this room work hard, and you want to be obedient and you want to be a blessing. And let's not lie, you work hard and you get home and you're tired. So my husband and I found that again, in the early part of our marriage is like, wait a minute, we're disconnecting from here and we're disconnecting from there because we're focused on this. And then you take your focus off of that and then you're focused on something else. And so we were able to incorporate this into our marriage, which has been very helpful. And we literally post it up in our bedroom. And so when I'm getting dressed, it's by my closet. So when I'm getting dressed, I see it every day and I'm like, oh, Tony, did you remember to call so-and-so and so about such and such? Because we don't just write it down. We say it has to be done by a particular time frame, right?
Okay,
and it has helped. It has helped our marriage in every way because things do fall through the cracks.
Oh, I'll just bet. I mean, no wonder because you've been married a long time now.
Yes.
Yeah. How many years?
Well, I always look at him and tell him, you answer that to make sure he's on top of it.
Tony's gonna get me for some of these
Yeah,
questions.
23 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Now that's a victory.
Yeah.
But you're giving us the secrets as to why.
And I'm
so
still
that's that
very,
scoop.
very much in love with him, extremely attracted to him. And I told him if he ever tried to leave, I would be his shadow. He ain't going nowhere.
No, he doesn't look like he's trying to go anywhere at all, because he's got that smitten look in his eye whenever I've seen the two of you together.
Thank you.
That hasn't changed. So the number here again to call in if you've got questions for Mary Edwards, our real estate expert that's in the studio this morning. Or if you have questions, even though Wes McKenzie is my co-host today, but I put him on the spot to answer some questions about Columbia too, if you'd like to call. The number here is 414-444-5250. That is 414-444-5250. So
No,
Mary, back to you.
Coral,
I'm sorry, go
remember
ahead.
what I was thinking of earlier. You talked about home inspections and things like that, and appraisals are there, and I've heard about the different challenges that you may have with appraisals in different communities. Can you speak to that? Do you have preferred appraisers, or is there something you found that helps out with that?
I can speak to that. We legally cannot influence inspections or the appraisals. However, as a professional, I can have documentation at a property to show, for example, if the appraiser is coming through to appraise one of my seller's home, I can have documentation there if I want to show this is where we got this number from. They may or may not look at it, but I know if I was a professional, I would love to see that information, right? The lender, as you know, picks the appraisal. And I do believe, and this may be mean to say, but we just are living in a society where people are governed by their biases. And I do believe that you do have some out there that are not familiar with a particular area.
Correct.
And they may have their own ideas of what that value should be in that area. And so one of the things, I don't care where your zip code is, one of the things I try to encourage my sellers to do is personalize your home as much as possible. So when that appraiser comes through, they're literally just looking at that home, and they will try not to be influenced. And I've read the stories about two appraisers coming in, two different personalizations that are on that property. And them getting two different numbers. And it's a travesty, but it's a reality sometimes of where we live and what we live. But I would say Wisconsin, for the most part, is doing very well. There are some times I've had to challenge the appraisal, but they understand, just like we are licensed, that they are too, and that we have to, just be accountable.
Keep each other accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that well thought out response, Mary. We do have a couple callers holding, so I would like to take the caller. Caller, go ahead, please, with your question.
Hi. So my name is Grace Edwards, and I would say my question is, I'm 20 years old right now, and based off what I'm hearing, it seems like budgeting your money is definitely a big aspect of, credit and getting older when it comes to buying a house eventually. So how would you suggest budgeting your money at this point in time to set yourself up for success in the future?
That's a very good question, Grace. I'm gonna kiss and hug you later because I love her so much. Yeah. But she knows I'm obsessed with budgeting. And I'm obsessed only because of the experiences my husband and I have gone through. I'm not going to sit here and pretend we don't have any testimonies, right? We've gone through various things, whether it's health, financial, etc. And that plays a part on your money. And so budgeting is very expensive. It's very important. One of the things that Tony and I have tried to teach our children is to live within a budget. So years ago, I tried this experiment in my early 20s where I wrote down everything that I spent money on for 30 days. every single thing. And when I went to the gas station, I got a bag of chips, soda, whatever. And I was very surprised because I thought I was responsible. I was very surprised to see how much money I spent that I didn't need to. I mean, very surprised. So I was like, wow, I could take this and this could be my We Energy bill, right? So I would encourage you to track where your money is going. Nowadays, they have apps and stuff like that where you could literally do that. And then make yourself a budget. What is your monthly expenses? How much do you pay for rent? How much do you pay on your utilities? Do you have a bunch of streaming services you don't need? Are you ordering out too much, etc.? Make yourself a budget. Think about the bills you're paying. What bills do you have to pay for your cell phone bill, for We Energies, for your cable, etc.? And what things can you let go? What credit card bills do you have? Those bills that you could get rid of, like the credit card bills, pay your smallest bill first. So if you have a credit card bill that you're paying $15 on, but you owe $150, let's just pay that off, right? Let's work. Pay a little bit more each month until you have that paid off. Now you have an extra $15 because you're living on a budget that you can apply to your next bill. And let's do that snowball effect until you pay your bills all off. And then you'll work to be debt free. And then don't hesitate to connect with a bank like Community Savings and Loan, right? Because they'll have programs available for you to say, okay, where are you? There are different loans that are available for you, whether you're a VA, whether you want to be in a particular zip code, etc., whether you want an FHA loan. So you want to be able to take advantage of what the banks have available to you, along with what you have saved to help you buy your first home.
That's great. That's very great information. I think we probably could do a whole segment on budgeting, and we probably will one day. And Mary, I'll have to invite you back for that. Grace, thank you so much for calling us today. You have a good day.
Thanks, Grace.
Okay. So there's another caller holding. Thank you, caller. Thank you for holding. Please go ahead.
I have a question for you. I heard you speak about homes that if you want to sell your home, but it's not in a upkept area by the neighbors. I have a duplex actually on a corner, and I've done everything from putting in vinyl sliding fences to putting in furnaces and all of that. And I'm trying to keep it where I can pass on home ownership to an individual rather than a company. You got any advice on how to pull those type of people in? Because all I get is offers from investors and things of that nature, where I'm really trying to pass on home ownership to another individual so they can experience what I experienced. The house is immaculate, but it's just, I would get a lot of investors.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the way to go.
We're seeing that now. You had brought up what's the difference in the market. Investors are out here like crazy. Like if you own any type of property, or if you have a loved one who has passed away, or if you own any type of rental, they are literally looking you up and texting you, calling you, emailing you. Oh my goodness, like crazy. So yeah, I know you're experiencing that. Have you listed your home on the market yet though?
That's the reason why, because I didn't want to list it on the market, because that's all I've been getting was those flood letters, because my house is paid for and everything. So
those flood letters, they're looking you up via your taxes, etc. If you list it on the market, you could talk to your realtor about what your desires are, and you have plenty of buyers who are looking to buy a home, because again, there's a shortage of inventory. So you have plenty of buyers that are out here right now who are looking to get in that home. For example, I was recently talking to a lady. She wants to buy a duplex. She wants to live in one unit and she wants to move her mother in the other, but she can't find anything. She wants to be in the city of Milwaukee. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that I don't care what the block is, there is someone who wants to live there. And that's what's so great about our community in Milwaukee. There are some people who are just very loyal to certain areas, certain streets. There is a homeowner for your home, sir, I can guarantee you, but they don't know about it because they're not an investor. You have to put it on the market so that they can be made aware of it. Just talk to your realtor about what you're looking for.
Or call the realtor that's in the studio with us this morning.
Can the church say amen?
Amen. And engage her. Mary, give your contact information again.
Yes, my cell is 414-899-9307. And you can always reach me at Team Mary Edwards. That's on Facebook. That's on Instagram. My email is Mary at teammaryedwards.com.
Thank you,
said
caller.
Team Mary?
Team,
You said
T
Team
E,
Mary?
yep, team, TEAM, Mary at teammaryedwards.com.
I will be calling you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, caller, for
Yep.
calling. So, Mary, tell us, why is home ownership important, particularly in the Black community?
I think personally, I think it's important for a lot of reasons. One of those reasons is it creates confidence, and I know that may sound silly, but it's not. It creates confidence in that family. You can create generational wealth, generational traditions. I can tell you that it helps build the community. You can literally drive down a block and you can see if there's mostly homeowners there or mostly renters. And I don't mean that to be insulting, but when you're a homeowner, you have a vested interest in making sure that you keep that house up because you want your investment back. You didn't make those sacrifices for nothing. Right. And we have beautiful communities. Our homes in Milwaukee got land and stone. We got all type of trim, and there's just so much going on. Yeah, the architecture is, you don't see that in these new constructions. We have to keep it up, and we have to teach our children the benefit of owning something for them and their future.
Absolutely. And let the church say amen again.
Amen. Here's the offering basket.
Yeah, we'll be right back with more Money Talks with Attorney Coral. We're going to remind you of those details of that home buying seminar that Columbia is hosting, and we'll be back shortly.
It's 106.5 Milwaukee.
Welcome, Coral. As we close out our show today, I'd like to just remind everyone that Columbia Savings and Loan Association is having a home buyer seminar that's coming up on Thursday, June 27th. It'll take place at 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. at the Columbia headquarters, which is 2020 West Fond du Lac Avenue. We'd ask you to reach out to the bank before then just to register. They're going to be serving some snacks, refreshments, whatnot. So it'll help the bank to have a head count, right, Wes?
Correct.
So what number should they call for that?
The number at Columbia Savings and Loan is 414-374-0486. Again, that is 414-374-0486.
Now, the seminar is for people who may be ready to buy a home now, or it may be for people who are not quite ready and need to just get information to get ready. Is that right?
Correct. It's for anybody thinking about buying a home. Even if you recently purchased a home, there'd be information in it available to you, because there's so much in preparation to buy a home. But then once you buy it, it's kind of like, oh, you're on your own. So there's still things that people need to learn about. There's a difference between being a renter and being a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a renter and something happens, pick up the phone and call somebody. Hey, we need this fixed. When you're a homeowner and something happens, it's all on you. So it's
Right.
it's just a different mindset.
No, absolutely. That's a good point. That's not something that was mentioned before. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
Okay, so if there's a person or anyone out there that's interested in getting a mortgage, applying for a mortgage, and you want to be considered, call Wes McKenzie, right, Wes?
Yes, ma'am. Columbia Savings and Loan.
Give him that number again.
414-374-0486. Again, 414-374-0486.
Can people also stop in the bank and pick up like an application packet, or how does that work?
They can come in. We will take some information from them and get them started to see what they pre-qualify for. So it's just a few pieces of information that we need. Once we get that from them, we'll, see where they are in the process and what we need to do moving forward.
Thank you. And I appreciate you joining me and co-hosting today with the show.
Anytime. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I grabbed you at the last minute and you showed up and showed out. Right. So Mary, again, thank you for being here. Are there any other final words of wisdom that you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
I do want to mention one of your executives in the studio here brought to my attention during the break. And he did remind me of something about one of the things that was a blessing to him was paying himself first. And I should have said that because that is so true. I remember years ago, I was more concerned about paying my bills because I do not like going to anybody anything. I was more concerned about then, but he's so right. I remember learning that lesson, like I got to put money away for me. And that's establishing an emergency fund, right? So you'll be surprised. Most Americans do not have $1,000 saved. So for example, the other day I got a nail in my tire and I'm thinking, oh, that's fine. I'll just go get that plug. Well, no, I need 4 new tires because now the way things were working and how it had to be balanced, etc. I was like, are you kidding me? So things happen with life, right? And you even talked about if something breaks down, we got something for that. There are home warranties out here.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways where you can prepare yourself for hardships that happen in life. But young man, you're absolutely right. We have to pay ourselves first. We got to put ourselves first, but we also as a community have to be responsible so that we can have a part in this American dream. It is a dream. And we are blessed to be here and have the opportunity that we have and to have partnerships with community organizations like Columbia so that we can make sure that we have the same opportunity as anybody else. And we're literally purchasing into our own future. And we got to remember that when you're paying rent, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. When you buy your home, you're paying into yourself. You can be without a mortgage. And next time we'll talk about how that can happen.
Right. Because there's so much to discuss. We're going to go ahead now and take the caller that's calling in. We got just a couple minutes before we end. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I was. This question's for Mary, and I was concerned about when you're buying a new home or you're doing a new construction. No one talks about the HOA. So when you buy a home, you really don't know that you're in an HOA. And that this property is going to be HOA, and you got extra dues and fees that you haven't anticipated. So I'll get off the air and let that question be answered. Okay.
Thank you so much for calling. When a home is on the market, it's actually one of the questions that is asked. So when you look at the public marketing material, it'll let you know if there's a homeowners association. Also, there should be a form for every home that's on the market. If it's owner occupied, if it's banked, if it's owned by a bank, they may not complete it. And that's called a real estate condition report. One of the questions on the real estate conditions report asks if there is a homeowners association, and then it wants to know how much those fees are. If it's something like a condominium, it is also going to let you know what's included in that homeowners association. It could be just lawn service, maybe snow removal, but could also include things like heat, water, etc. So whoever you're working with, you want to ask them. If they don't know, they can literally pick up the phone, but most of the time it is on the marketing material.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. Wes, any closing remarks from you?
I just want to remind everyone about, like Mary spoke about, the importance of home ownership and what it does, not only personally as an individual or as a family, but also what it does for the community and how it increases the value of all the homes in the neighborhood. And as values of the homes increase, the neighborhood increases, the businesses increase. So, like I said before, a rising tide lifts all ships. So, as a family buys a home and they get more stable, then children perform better in school. It's just a ripple effect that improves everything.
Thank you. I think those are very worthy comments. Contact Columbia Savings and Loan.
Yes.
Call up 414-374-0486 so Wes can get you started on your application for a mortgage, get
That's
you on
right.
your road to homeownership. When you're ready to buy, you call Realtor Extraordinaire Mary Edwards.
Or sell.
Or sell. Or
That's
sell.
right.
so that she can get you on your way. So if you're ready now, give her a call now. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.
This was informational for me as well. So I appreciate my guests and my co-host in the studio
Thank
this
you.
morning.
Oh, glad to
Thank
be
you so
here.
much,
Thank you,
everyone.
Cole.
We'll be back in a week
Thank
with
you
more
both.
Money Talks.